have to learn. And I'm,
Okay. All right. That's what happened. I forgot to hit start. We talked for a few minutes. Still there? That's the first time that's happened though. But anyway, you're talking about how this felt like it just
oh, okay.
different time, different era. Um, I would venture to say you don't even feel like you're the same person, do you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me, is this my volume? Hold on. I can kind of barely hear you. Let me see if I can turn this volume up.
Hold on. Let me do this then.
And I got
All
an
right.
ancient computer, so
Oh,
this
okay.
thing.
Oh, you got one of those where it's going to take you a while
All
for
right.
it to boot up and all that. Take you a while to
Yep.
boot it up,
Yep.
and then you can probably go to the
Yep.
kitchen, take a bath, come back, and it's still booting up.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yep. I got that from my dad, man. We had dial-up computer for the longest.
Uh, okay, got
But it
Josh Logan
works.
coming in.
Computer
SB,
works.
hey, thanks for coming in, y'all. Hey, man, it is. But with what you're doing now, you may want to come into at least this part of the decade with another computer. You know, um, in terms
Hey, it
of
works.
you can't be cheap with
We
everything now.
we live streaming right now. It's working.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. That's the way it is with me when it comes to clothing. My queen just told
Oh
me
yeah.
you got 6 new shirts in the closet. 6 new shirts. You got a few new pants. No excuse come Friday night when we go out. I'm like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I had a fro modification yesterday. She made sure that I got a fro modification yesterday. Yeah.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
now when it comes to like computers and getting up under the hood or something like that, hey, I'll do
Yeah.
what I have to do, man. I'll spend the money. But when it comes to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
I'll pass on that. Yeah.
Got
But
you.
yeah, this is the first one, and you mentioned that before I learned how to turn the thing on, that you felt that something special was about that was in the making. In what way did
Yeah.
you feel
So
it was special?
like I said, I've never been a social media type person. Like never imagined I would be doing this. But I knew like just leaving my job, my 9 to 5, and it's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
in that same boat. They're doing the 9 to 5 rat race and they want to work for themselves, but it's a lot that comes with that. So I'm like, man, this is the perfect platform to like show me like leaving the 9 to 5 and just going all in my
Mm-hmm.
own business. And
Right.
it's a perfect opportunity for me to show from beginning to end, be transparent, show the ins and outs. And even though I was nervous as I don't know what, I had enough
Mm-hmm.
courage to go ahead and make that first video. And after the first video, I don't remember how many views it got. I think it had
Mm-hmm.
very few, but the comments is what really helped me. The people were like,
Right.
appreciative, and they was like, "Oh, can you show me more?" And I started getting the questions, and I realized that man, it's a lot of people looking into this. I could help
Mm-hmm.
them. So, yeah, man. But once I got that first one out the way, now
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now I can't. I'm not going to say there was just any. And please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying that I am here and everybody else is here. But it was something about it was just something about you doing what you're doing. I've talked about this before, authenticity. Um, that's what I look for, authenticity, and that's what I saw, or
Yeah.
sincerity. That's another word. And I come back and you do another one, you do another one, you do another one, and and then of course at that time I was taking some rocks, arrows, boulders, spears. Folk call me dumb, everything else. But yeah, look, we're
Yeah,
here. You're here. You get what I'm saying? We're here after 2 years,
yeah,
and that's pretty good.
exactly.
Let's see here.
Yes, sir. I never asked you when did you start your YouTube channel?
I started my YouTube channel in October 2021. Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've
Gotcha.
been in, as I always said, I've been in gig economy since 2016. It's just that the big change for me was getting the van, and I was doing something that was slightly ahead of everybody else, and I think that was the thing I saw where gig app money, specifically with gig food delivery, was stagnating, and so I felt that I need to go in another direction. And I thought that the Sprinter van would be the way to do it, put me in a better position. So let's see here. We got Josh, we got Superman Clark Kent, we got Gig Wars official. That's Red. Red is going to be my invited guest next week. In fact, I'm going to show something, but I'm going to take a few moments here. This is Red. Wait a minute. Oops.
Oh, I can see.
Okay, there she. That's Red, and she's going to be my invited guest next week. So it'll be interesting what we got to say about gig delivery and all that. Josh is saying, "Who in the right mind wants to be a slave of a 9 to 5? I am now and hate it." Well, I can understand your sentiment. Although I've not been in that personally, I've not been in a 9 to 5 situation since 2016. And even then, it was a hybrid situation. But 2016 was the last time, and it got to a point that I knew that it just wasn't my thing. It just wasn't my thing. And that kind of leads me to a couple of questions I want to ask you first. First of all, I understand that you were military. What part of the service were you in?
So I was Army.
Okay. And where you last were stationed?
My last station was Hawaii. You know, some people gonna be jealous of that, but yeah, it was Hawaii. Hawaii.
I'm not mad at you, man. I'm not mad at you.
Hawaii. It wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. Actually, I probably got sick of it probably after like 6 months there. So
really?
It's a nice place to vacation, but not to live.
Yeah, the cost of living is pretty high. Number one.
And yeah, it is.
And then, I guess if that's not your setting, then it's not your setting, though. But I guess it's nice to say that you were there. Let's see. We got Mr. and Miss. We got another folk I've not seen before. Mr. and Miss Quick. Okay. Hey there, y'all. So you are also, from what I understand, you moved from California then to San Antonio, or what was the move? What was the progression there?
It's kind of funny because I'm actually posting a video tomorrow about that.
Okay.
And it's gonna be a little controversial, so just letting y'all know right now. But I like being honest. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. So, but just in a nutshell, California has been changing a lot, and it's very hard to for me, my generation. Like when my parents moved there, you know, they bought their house for like less than 200,000. Now, like a house is like $800,000, and that's like on the cheap end. So it just a lot of changes, and I was thinking about the future. I was thinking about my kids and how, you know, I don't want to live in a house and pay for it for 30 years like most people do. Like I actually want to live in a state where I can actually pay my house off. And so it was a lot of things like that. It just pretty much after the 2020, kind of the COVID stuff, the stuff they were doing, that was kind of like the last straw. I was like, I had to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose Texas. I still don't know why, but originally we were supposed to move to Florida. I had
Mm-hmm.
a agent and everything, and for some reason, I don't know what it was, but I just started to look in Texas, and I don't have any family here, no friends, nothing. But my heart was just like Texas is the place. Like we came to visit, look at a couple houses, and I just fell in love with it. So
Okay. And it just
yeah,
happened to be San Antonio. And I've shared with you, at least in a comment, now when I first daily newspaper I worked at once I finished school was in New Braunfels, right up the road. But back then, New Braunfels and the outlying areas were still considered outlying areas. Talking about Bernie, Fredericksburg, those areas. Um,
yeah,
of course, you've probably heard of the Schlitterbahn in New
yep.
Braunfels. That's the
At
water
water
park.
park, yeah,
Yeah, that's the Schlitterbahn.
yeah.
That was a big deal 35 years ago, and obviously it's a big deal still now. Of course, with my family members, since I'm from Houston, and all, I had a cousin who attended Southwest Texas State in San Marcos, and that was party town, man. Folk, they had a good time. In fact,
San
we had so
Marcos,
much. San Marcos. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
really?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, the former Houston Oilers actually did summer camp there back in the Jerry
Oh,
Glanville area. Yeah. But yeah,
okay.
my first cousin, he partied up and he realized that he's gonna have to go home to Houston where he can kind of straighten up and where he finished his undergrad. But oh yes, Southwest Texas State was known for that. I think it's a different name now, but that's what we called it back then. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Now one thing that I think we could I'm gonna say this though, but I'm gonna ask you this as well. I'm certain that you, in your experience, seen a lot of folk kind of come and go in this delivery and transport space over the last 2 years. What are some of your observations as to why people have kind of just come and go?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't really met personally people that have come and go specifically in the
Mm-hmm.
cargo van. I've seen a couple people try the box truck thing and that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are rushing. They feel rushed. They feel
Mm-hmm.
like they have to get in because it's oversaturated, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a misconception. I think if you do your research, and when I say research, I'm talking about like actually understand what you want to do because people are buying cargo vans and then they're asking me what should I do or what app should I sign up for. And I'm like, you totally backwards. So you
Mm-hmm.
gotta treat it like a business, like an actual
Mm-hmm.
business. Don't worry about competition and all that stuff, and figure out what you want to do. So,
Right.
like most of the people that I see that are not successful or that quit, it's because they're not prepared. They never prepared, and then they get a rude awakening when they realize how much insurance costs and how hard it is
Mm-hmm.
to get lows, and this they set themselves up for failure pretty much.
Right. Well, I'm going to contribute to this by noting, yeah, I've seen a number of folk come and go as well. And I kind of hinted at that I was heading in another direction in 2022. But one of the things that I was telling folk in my videos is that, hey, if you want to see business like results, you got to treat it like a business.
Exactly.
Just what you
Yeah.
said. You got to treat it like a business. And I think a lot of folk do not that's one thing that they don't a lot of folk just see the headlines. This is where I talk about the headlines, where they see folk like you and I, maybe having a good day, and we're showing how we've had a good day. So they're like, I want to do that. All right, but they have no idea on and how to get there to how to do it. Um, um and so that's one thing. Um, Another thing is that um I think folk have unrealistic expectations. And
That
one of the things that
that's a big one.
and one of the things when it comes to business, they always talk about this. You got to set realistic expectations. Talk about in
Exactly.
sales. You got to set realistic expectations. And so when I came into the sprinter slash cargo van space, well, I already knew I kind of had an idea what I was doing on the gig food delivery side. So now I'm transitioning to another vehicle, but I'm also thinking that, hey, this vehicle can give me a greater earnings capacity, something that I've been saying all along as well. Greater earnings
Yeah.
capacity. I understood that much. But even then, I'm going to tell you, I've mentioned this too. I didn't do a lot of research, but maybe I had a little bit of, you know, a little bit of um, a business sense and how to do certain things, how to keep things going. Of course, in my case, also having been a insurance agent, still have an agency, got an office downtown Columbia. So I've seen people come and go in the insurance space. Same thing. One of the things often, in fact, one of the things I know I'm going off into another thing, but there's a couple of things that I would tell people in terms of how to avoid some of the pitfalls that usually happen to agents. They listen and it's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And guess what happens? The very thing that you tell them, that's the very thing that sinks their ship. In that
Yeah.
respect, then, um, you mentioned about folk not really having a true business sense, unrealistic expectations. Is there any one thing that you see where that just really sinks a person's ship?
Um, hey, one thing,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's hard for me to think like that because I have such a positive mindset. Like when I put my
Mm-hmm.
mind to something, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
like really dwell on
Right.
that stuff. But
Right.
if I'm trying to think about people that have failed,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
would say that, like you said, the expectation. Some people
Mm-hmm.
I've actually heard them on other channels.
Mm-hmm.
Like say like, man, I'm about to start a box truck or a cargo van business. I'm about to have a fleet of this, and I'm about to make X amount of money. And they have
Mm-hmm.
these super high expectations, but they haven't done any. They don't know anything about the market. They don't know their cost per mile. They don't know how to like calculate their expenses. Like none of that they don't pay attention to. And they have
Right.
like create this fantasy in their head, and then when they
Mm-hmm.
actually like try to do it or get out there, they reality hits them basically,
Mm-hmm.
and they realize they can't even get insurance, they can't even get run,
Right.
or they get their
Mm-hmm.
MC and they can't get no loads, and then that's when
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's
Yeah.
too late now. You can spend all your money.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, hey, you're in the ocean now. You've jumped off the ship into the
Exactly.
ocean. Okay, it's on
Yeah.
you now. So someone
Yeah.
says start with as small as a start with as small as a minivan just to test the market.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say that. Start with your if you've got a car. No, if you've got a car,
Or
start
even
with
smaller.
your car
Yeah.
because that's how I started in the I started with rideshare 2009 Ford Taurus in 2016. It had 176,000 miles on it. I've basically worked my way up in terms of
Yeah.
vehicles in this time. So when I got the van in 2022, I had an F-150. I still got the F-150. In fact, y'all seen recent videos. That's the F-150. Prior to that, I had a Pathfinder. I traded in the Pathfinder for the F-150 for other reasons. Prior to that, 2011 Maxima. Okay, and then before the Maxima, the Taurus. So I would start with what you got first.
Yeah.
Make that work before you go to something else. That's one thing.
So I would say on that note,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people I'm realizing they don't know what they want to do. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, I know everyone's attracted to gig apps because that's
Mm-hmm.
the easiest way to make money. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, can you really run a business in your car? Like what can you do in your car? So when you're mentioning the car thing, I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking gig apps, right? That's what you're referring to, or are you talking about
Right.
just people like
Well,
starting
yeah.
a
I mean,
actual delivery
no.
service?
I mean, we're talking with gig apps first. Get an idea first
Yeah.
of the gig apps, and then expand from there. Um, yeah. Like with me with the delivery and transport. When I got the van, I'd also been talking to a couple of folk in terms of about getting authority. In fact, I talked with someone a few months beforehand, before I even thought about a van. He was telling me, "Yeah, you might want to look into this, getting an authority." I didn't. It just kind of went through one ear out the other. And then I've shared how I met a young guy who said he had his authority, and then it turned out my next door neighbor who has a semi and he had a flatbed, but he has his own semi. He was telling me it doesn't hurt having your authority. So I understood then, okay, that's something I may need to look into. That's an option. There's always an option. And then, of course, as I've done this now for 2 years, I've kind of now we share different opinions about load boards though, but I'll share why. But I'll let you tell your reason for that. But I've kind of, just like you've evolved, I've evolved, and it's just and we talk about that right now. Low boards are just one piece of the puzzle for me. It may not be for like you, CJ, or Tapped Line or Josh Rayburn, but it's one piece for me. But why is it that you are adverse to low boards?
I'm not really. So here's the thing. I'm not against it. I think it can work if you know, if you're committed to it and you understand it and you have a good relationship with brokers and all that. I get that. And I think if I really put my mind to it, I could, build a relationship and get loads and all that. My thing is, I hate spending money. And I know sometimes you got to spend money to make money, but I already don't like driving long distance to start with. So that's already like, I'm already not, interested. And then, with the low boards, the bidding process, I don't like that. And also the insurance. The insurance is a killer. I've always been against insurance in general. I think it's just a big scam. And that's something I'm going to talk about. I'm going to go live because I have a lot to say. So I'm going to go live. I learned something today about insurance that I want to share, but I'm not going to spoil it here. But insurance, like, it's ridiculous.
I'm an insurance guy. I probably know what I probably understand what you're saying already, but I'll put it like this. My high school classmate and I, we're in different forms of insurance. He's in airline insurance, okay? And I'm in the property and casualty primarily. We both agree that in some ways it's a Ponzi scheme, okay? But it's allowed some of us to make a living, okay, or do something. But go ahead on, CJ. Go ahead on.
I was just saying.
You're not hurting my feelings.
I was just saying, man, the insurance is a killer. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna spoil it. I have a lot to say, and it is serious too because I'm trying to start a moving business, and there's a big hurdle I got to get across. So I'll talk about it on my live.
Yeah, there are some things, even with if you're dealing with your authority, that's a rabbit hole that you're about to go down a rabbit hole there.
But I just think it's way too high for a cargo van. I'm not driving an 18-wheeler. I'm driving a cargo van, and it's just I never can be comfortable paying that much money for insurance. So that's one of the main things.
Well, and the funny thing about it is that from an insurance standpoint, a van, what we use, is considered a commercial vehicle, but according to the FMCSA, it is not. It's not by their definition a commercial vehicle.
Right.
So it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab.
That's all it is.
It's a cash grab, and I'm saying that because I've been licensed in some capacity for over 20 years now. I've been licensed, and when it comes to property and casualty, which handles your car insurance and your business owner insurance and all that stuff for the last 10 plus years. So I know it's a cash grab. How I deal with it, I think because I write my own policies and all that stuff, I do things copacetic, but I'm able to maybe help myself out, whereas others may not be able to help themselves out.
What do you mean, write your own policy?
Because I'm also an agent. I'm an agent, man. I got my own agency.
So you could cheat the system legally?
I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm cheating the system. And if I want to cheat the system, I could. But I mean, that come back on me. That's just like doing taxes. It's like doing taxes, man. But you work within what you got, you may see some gray area, like I'm talking as a NASCAR crew chief. You may have a little gray area to
Yeah.
work with, and you work within it. Okay. So
Yvette Hollins,
yeah,
what's up?
yeah. Hey there, two of my favorite courier bosses. Oh, thank you. It must be you, man. You must be you. Take both of them. Take both spots.
Yeah, nah, man.
Huh?
Appreciate
DO,
y'all.
DOT or no DOT for van? Well, if you want to deal with load boards, if you want to book your own opportunities, you're gonna need one. I did a video on that back in 2023. Very emphatic about certain things. You could talk. You can actually run loads for someone for a carrier. I think that's what CJ has done. But if you want to do it for yourself, you will need a DOT or an MC number, because the first thing they're gonna ask you is, "What's your MC number?" First thing, I promise you.
Yeah. Well, DOT is free, so I don't know why people don't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
Just get it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You just work within. You just be working within your state lines. That's
Right.
intrastate. Now, if you want to go cross state, of course, if you're in Texas, you could you cover a lot of you cover a lot of territory in Texas. But
Woo, man, take forever just
yeah,
to get out of here.
yeah. Well, you're almost in the middle of the state too. I mean, imagine
Yeah.
if you cross state from the Sabine River, Louisiana side, all the way over to El Paso. That's 900 miles.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Tell us why we should use a load board. Why should you use a load board? Well, I understand folk talk about finding direct relationships, but if you're going to be transporting freight, at least I'm going to say in the traditional sense, this is a source of where you find opportunities. That's pretty much that's the nicest way I could describe it. Um, as I've said already,
Oh,
it is one source of making money in the delivery and transport space. It is not. I mean, what you hear a lot of people talking about is going over the road, over the road, over the road. I mean,
mhm.
that's for some people. Okay, that is for some people. If you're into driving 2,000 to 3,000 miles in a week, and pretty much miles equals your money in that space, then so be it. If you're like myself, who wants to be home, who prefers being home every night, and has always strategized doing things regionally, load boards help in that regard, because you'll find opportunities take you from neighboring states and earn money that way. Hopefully, I'm answering your question on Tap Line. But anyway, let me ask
Yep.
you. All right, let me move on. Now, CJ, you've always been transparent about your making a transition from the W-2 realm to the 1099 realm. What was it that clicked for you when you begin to truly see yourself as that 1099, that self-employed, that proprietor?
Oh man, that's a good question. I never really thought about that. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it. So my first job in Texas was working at American Freight. I
Mm-hmm.
was, and I knew I wanted to do something in delivery. That was my first time working in delivery, and I knew I wanted to, I like delivery services, but I didn't like the pay. I'm getting like $15 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think when I went to my second job, which was Sleep Number, I was making 17 an hour starting
Mm-hmm.
off. I was doing deliveries, and I think because we're on the road so much, I was seeing so many other delivery drivers. We're running into different type of deliveries for all different companies. And I think during that time, that's when I was thinking like, man, there's a lot of money in delivery. Like it's deliveries for everything. Like you can't even like everything. This is deliveries for all these companies. So that's when I think the light kind of went on. Like, I wonder if that's something I could do, like for myself. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
started the research. So once
Mm-hmm.
that kind of clicked in my head, I just kind of like just searching online and looking around, like, how do you start your own delivery service? And then that's when the YouTube videos started. I started watching those, and it just grew from there. So it
Okay.
took a whole year. It was a whole year of research
Right.
before I actually, made a move.
Okay, but once you started, so we're talking 2023, because what I'm getting at then is I I saw the videos, obviously, and I saw where you often talk. You're only going to talk as what you know. And I'll give an example. When I first worked at a car lot, this is the year 2000. I had just left getting out of the newspaper business, and so the way I carried myself, the way I talked, was as if I was still a newspaper reporter. All right. In that respect, as you started documenting your experience, there were things that you would say. There were things. This is just my observation. There were things that you did and say that was as a W-2. Now, over time, I've seen how you're talking more as a proprietor, a business person, 1099. So I'm asking again, when do you feel, think, or notice that you really begin to make that transition, that transformation?
Oh, okay. So you talking about when I was not before I started the cargo van, as I'm growing. I got you.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have a date or nothing, but like it's probably like just the frustration of the gig apps.
Mm-hmm.
And the gig apps, when you're working gig apps, you're not really thinking about your business. You don't
Mm-hmm.
really feel like a business. So um, I think a lot of that frustration is what caused me to, like, you know, change my thinking process and start thinking more business. I actually have a business. I have an LLC. Why can't I
Mm-hmm.
be the gig app? And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, you saw the process. You see the process, everything I went through, and now I'm like laser focused on my business and trying to actually grow a business, not just run through gig apps, but be the gig app. So what that may
Mm-hmm.
lead to, I have no idea, but yeah, being business minded is huge. Like if you're not business
Yeah.
minded, if you keep the W-2 mentality, you're gonna it's I'm gonna say it's not gonna work, but you really
It's going to
gotta
hinder you.
eliminate
It's going to hinder you.
that
Yeah.
mindset.
Mm-hmm. All right.
What's that?
Now here's one that you're probably going to be better suited to answer than I am, CJ. Jimmy Jerome asked, "What's the number one thing to consider in the research before entering that space?" I didn't do a lot of research in that regard. You did. I didn't.
Um, the number one thing, oh man, I would say expenses. And the reason I say that is because that's the first thing I did. I felt that that was the most important because there's a chance that you can start your business and you may not make the money that you want to make or you think you're going to make.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you don't know your expenses, if you don't know like how much you need to make daily, weekly, monthly, that could be a huge downfall for a lot of people. So I know I
Mhm.
say I try to make $200 a day, and I know that
Mhm.
that's reasonable. I know I can actually make that in my market. So a lot of people, they don't know their market and they'll have maybe the same number, but that's not reality.
Right.
So they're going to drown in expenses.
Right.
So
Now,
I would say,
I
okay.
mhm. Go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was going to double down on expenses. Like
Mhm.
lay out all your expenses.
Mhm.
I'm talking about everything. Not just your insurance,
Right.
all the bills, everything. Get that number and then figure out how much you need to make so
Right.
that you understand. You got to make a profit. You can't be breaking
Right.
even or so that's
Mhm.
important. A lot of people don't do that. So
Now, it's interesting you say that. Now, I did a video last summer. It's called "What's Your Break Point?" And this is exactly what I was talking about. I'm not the business person. I've had the person on there, Mike Drop Barbecue, last month. Um, he is an accountant by training. That's his formal background. But your break point is exactly what you're talking about. When I started, well, let's put it like this: 2 years ago, as I accrued all the expenses that I did in starting up this space, I figured out I figured out the cost per month with insurance, a guesstimate on gas because I was keeping up with expenses with gas prior to all that stuff, and then of course at home, how much is gonna all my bills at home, and then what I think were going to be the costs each month operating the spinner slash cargo van, and I came up with that number. So then from there, I'm like, how long is it going to take for me for those numbers to intersect?
Yeah.
Okay, if this is my cost, if these are my costs, which should be going down at some point, this is going to be the income. At some point, they've got to intersect. When am I going to
Yeah.
start seeing that profit? For me, I anticipated it was going to be June, July, August of 2023. And that's when I started, when that's when I really kind of started hitting my stride, about June, July, August of 2023. Hopefully we're answering somebody's question on along those lines. You definitely gotta you gotta be able to anticipate certain costs coming in. You may not know it all, but you should have a good idea what it's gonna take. And to come in saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm gonna make blah 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 a month." No, what you need to know is what you got to cover each month first. That will give you an idea what you will need to make.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Now, y'all, this is a free game that I was hoping that people would come in for. This is, I mean, there's a lot of freeloaders that want the answers to the test. They want the answers
Yeah.
to the test, but they don't want to put in the work. But this is
Yep.
stuff that CJ and I have talked about over the last 2 years in videos as well. So it's not like we're giving you these great secret surprises. No, if you go back in his archive, you go back in my archive. These are the things we've talked about.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that. So one thing I noticed, like when I do my content, I'm not like trying to say the same thing as another content creator. Everything that
Mhm.
I say is based on my real life experience, and that's important for people to understand because when you have someone that's actually documenting a real journey and telling you the real deal, that's probably something. It is ironic that a lot of times what I'm saying is the same thing other people are saying that's doing the same
Mhm.
thing. So it kind of
Mhm.
helps you see like who's telling the truth and who's
Right.
out here to just make money off
Yeah.
YouTube.
Right. Right. That's true. I mean, you see those all the time. You see these clowns sitting up here with a microphone up and they're telling you all these different things that you can do and they ain't done nothing themselves. And
Yep,
that's what irks me.
exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
irks me. And then when you challenge them about it, then they want to say you got problems. You're sick. You're crazy. But
Yes, sir.
yo. See, okay. Here's this. This is Mr. Raymond Picard Jr. here. He says, "Been a while. You are a bomb." Hey, man, thanks, Mr. Picard. He is the second vice president, soon to be first vice president of the Gig Geezer crew. So I have to give my acknowledgments to him. Let's
Oh,
see here.
nice.
Like it and
I ain't
share.
seen him in a while.
Who? Oh, Raymond.
Yeah,
SB
he
also
was he was
added.
commenting a lot on my channel and he disappeared. I don't know what happened.
Well, it could be the algorithm. The algorithm will do that sometimes. It won't. The algorithm always anticipate what you're doing based on your activity on YouTube and just things that you're doing in general. SB also
Yeah,
added. You also need to know the expense number to know how much startup cash you have to have on hand. Well, that, that's true, but then again, your startup. I'll agree with you that you have to um, give you an idea on startup cash. Um, Again, you can anticipate certain costs, like with insurance, but then again, I'm just saying it like it is. Insurance, for example, is something that's going to be just based on you and you only. You can't. That's not a cookie cutter thing because it costs me what it costs me here in South Carolina. It's not going to be the same in Texas. What costs someone in Texas is not going to be the same in Kentucky or North Carolina or Georgia. It's it all it's a There again, it's just no cookie cutter thing. But we move on. Now, CJ, I have this is one that I got to ask you the question based on this about the when you have done gig app opportunities. I know that you're kind of you do it, but then you're really intent on building the personal business enterprise side. When where I'm at, it takes me sometimes 10, 15, 20 miles to get where I'm at. You've often said that, first of all, you don't drive a lot of miles. And I guess it's possible, but you must really live in a very envious area of San Antonio. That's the only thing I can say. It's got to be an envious area um because I know San Antonio is a pretty spread out place too. And
yeah, so yeah.
Mhm.
Go ahead, you can finish.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I said it before. Well, you know how San Antonio is. It's kind of a big circle.
Mhm.
I am very, very strategic in
Mhm.
the orders that I take, and
Mhm.
I try to minimize my mileage. So,
Mhm.
on average, like when I leave my house, I usually don't leave my house until I get an order, and most orders, it's either going to be a dolly, probably at Best Buy, or maybe a PPG, and all of these are like literally like 10 miles from my house. So just leaving the house 10 miles, and then once I'm out there, I'm very strategic in all the orders I accept. So I let
Mhm.
a lot of go. Like there's a lot of orders I could do, but I'm
Mhm.
looking at, do I gotta drive from the west side to the east side for the pickup? Like I'm counting all that.
Mhm.
So most of the orders I do on my videos, it's gonna be the first order, however far I got to drive, it could be 10 miles, it could be 15 miles, whatever it is. And then from then, most of the orders are going to be, 7 miles away, 8 miles away. And then, again, I'm strategically picking the next. So whatever opportunity comes, I'm only going to accept it if it makes sense miles wise. So I feel like the less miles you drive, the more money you're going to make, obviously. Um,
Mhm.
and it's worked for me. It's worked.
Right.
I could be money hungry and just take everything, but
Right.
mileage wise, it just doesn't make sense to me. There are guys that will literally fill up every day. They'll run their gas tank out and they'll make good money. But I try to, I'm always thinking maintenance. So I'm trying not to run my van into the ground.
Mhm.
And to make $200 a day, you could do it pretty quick within 3, 4 hours, and even working strategically. So, um, if you're asking like how am I able to keep my miles really low, that's why.
Mhm.
It's 10 miles out from the house usually, and then
Mhm.
every order is like 70 mile drive, and then back to the
Mhm.
house. So 50, 60 miles a day. That's it.
Man, I wish I can do that, but I promise you, at least where I'm at in South Carolina, depending on
Yeah, you
what it
can't. It's
is,
impossible.
no, you can't. You just can't do it. In fact, I live as you're leaving Columbia. In fact, where I lived prior, it was as you're leaving Columbia in another direction. So I'm always having to. So for me, it's like, okay, this is a necessary thing, and I just go along with it though. Um, One other thing I'm going to ask along those lines. Now, you've mentioned, I'll put it like this. Sometimes I have cringed at some of the things that you have shared when you've worked the apps, in that I believe that you could make more money. Now, everybody has their own way of doing things, and I'll just leave it at that though. But I'm just sharing that sometimes I have cringed because I just feel that you could make more money. But are you okay with, obviously, are you okay, or do you feel that you could make more money in with some of the things that you've some of the opportunities that you've done?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I definitely could make more money.
Mhm.
Um, I think what it is, that's it's kind of hard to answer because I have so many things going that
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, so this is how it is. If I go out, say I do one order,
Mhm.
say, pay $70, whatever, do a Best Buy order. And then,
Mhm.
everything that's coming out is just like, $10, $12, whatever. Nothing really worth it, my time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I get impatient, and I'm
Mhm.
always thinking about the other things that I do take money, which I haven't shared yet. There are other things I'm
Mhm.
doing. I will
Mhm.
reveal it, but
Mhm.
I feel like I'm wasting time. And I don't know what that is. Some of you guys might relate to it, but I'm always trying. There's different ways to make money. It's not just with the cargo van, and
Mhm.
I'm working on those things. And so when I'm out there and I'm bored and I'm not getting nothing, I feel like I'm just wasting my time. So
Oh yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times I'll go home to work on other stuff. And,
Mhm.
and I have other ways to make money, which I will share later. But
Mhm.
that's kind of it. There's some people that's kind of desperate. I
Mhm.
know they are because I see the orders that normally will sit, and right
Mhm.
now it's a slow period, and those orders are flying. Like as soon as they come out, they're
Yeah.
gone. And there's
Mhm.
so I know some people are in a desperate situation. I'm not, because I do have other income, so I'm not
Mhm.
like, I'm okay if it's slow, So
Mhm.
I just go wild on the busy days, but if it's not busy, I'm not gonna waste my time. I could do something else.
Mhm. Hold on, man. I've got to respond here. This is outside though, but I need to see something. What's going on here? All
If
right.
that makes sense.
No, it makes sense to me. I mean, I understand. And look, we all should be trying to diversify whatever we're doing. Whatever it is we need to diversify. If we
Yeah,
don't, water becomes stagnant and it stinks, you know?
yeah,
And I know that, I mean, I'm always in conversation with a fast friend of mine, and we're always talking about things that we need to be doing. He does better than I do, and but I admit he does. I mean, look, this dude I'm talking about, I ain't mentioned, I've never mentioned well, I have mentioned his name though, but I'll just put it like this: he's got a full suite of things that he's doing. Okay, he's got a full suite of things. He's not dependent on one thing. I'm trying to get there myself. There's a lot of things that I don't share. There's a lot of things I don't share because I'm trying to get there myself. And
yeah,
so, but I think that's all a part of being a business person. You know, you set certain goals. You write down certain aspirations, and that's what you work towards. Do you write down a lot of the things that you set out to do, or you put it to the computer screen and kind of map out what you're doing?
you said, do I write down my goals?
Yeah, write them down or map or put them onto the computer screen, and this is what you this is what you're this is kind of like your roadmap to what you're trying to get to.
Oh yeah, I recommend that every year. Every year I write down
Mhm.
goals, and I almost achieved every last one of my goals for last year. But yeah, at the beginning of the year, I have certain
Mhm.
goals, whether it be
Mhm.
income, like I want to make a certain amount of money, or I want to, one of my goals I shared was I want to have 10 streams of income. I have six right now. I want 10 by the end of the
Mhm.
year. So like I write down my goals and I'm working at it every day. I'm working at it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's to write down your goals. Absolutely.
Yeah, I find like with my queen, in fact, this is a conversation piece that I had, and pretty much whatever I've told her that I was going to do, I've done it. Even when it comes to
Yeah.
with the van and with just day to day or monthly things, pretty much what I've told her, what I've set out to do, I've done those things. And let's see, wow, JT, yeah, well, yeah. Now I'm gonna share this, JT. It took me a little bit of research. It took me a little bit of researching to try to get a hold of CJ. But when I got a hold of him, he was quick to answer in his own way.
I got
I'll
like
leave it at
four
that.
emails. I got like four email addresses, so it's like hard to keep up with that stuff.
Well,
But that's my business
mhm.
email. You got me on.
Yeah, all right. Like I told you, it's a reporter in me. That's how I guess you call it investigator.
Hey,
But yeah, that's why I
I
just.
forgot to say I was gonna piggyback on what I was saying about the the working out there, and I can make more money. That's another thing that, I know I say this a lot, but I think my desire to make money in that van is not as high as somebody else. And it's basically because it's like trying to motivate a guy that's retired and he's getting a retirement check and he's just kind of like side hustling with his van. It's going to be hard to motivate him to like stay out there and like just hustle just to make, $300, $400 when, he's in a financial situation where he doesn't really have to hustle that hard. So that's something important, especially people watching my channel, is I'm not in that position completely, but there are people that don't have any other income. So their hustle is going to look a lot different than mine. So I just wanted to kind of add that because I get a lot of misconceptions about my income.
Well, I tell you, my hustle is the way it is because it has to be. That's just the way it is, man.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Hey, even at this stage in life, it says, guys, who are your mentors? I'll let you answer that one, CJ.
Oh, business people. Anybody into business with some sense. I mentioned mine. Y'all know who it is. Somebody put it in there. I want to see if somebody can put it in there who my number one mentor is, because he is like, he's helping me a lot. I'm gonna see if anybody know.
I have to go back in the CJ archive to pull that guy.
I said him a couple times.
Like I said, I would have to go back into
that's
that.
One. That's one, okay. But nah, I'm talking about human, a human mentor.
All right, I'll give you that one. I mean, my mentor, I can't. With respect to business, I can't say that. I mean, the person, and I know that this is not the answer though, but a person I often mention, at least in my earlier years, guy named Cleo Hicks. May not have been the salt of the earth though, but he certainly got me to thinking about some things. I mean, this guy I knew from the bowling alleys. And the last time I saw Cleo was in 1991. And the best example though that I can tell you about when it comes to mentorship. In fact, I did a video on this back in 2023 about being a mentor. The best compliment to whomever you look up to is when that person can see themselves replicated in you, or you see yourself replicated in that in someone down the road. And when I last saw Cleo, met him at the bowling alley Saturday morning. A guy named Chuck Thomas was throwing some practice shots, and I used to keep score for him. And I noticed something with his backswing, and mainly with his backswing. And I pointed something out to him. Cleo shows up, pointing out the same thing that I just mentioned. And to me, that was a good example of how someone replicates themselves in you, when the student can point out the same things as the teacher. Or you see the same results. But anyway, we're almost there, CJ. Hopefully you think it's been a fast hour for you.
Man, it went by like nothing. I feel like we've been here like 20 minutes.
Well, see, I try to keep my word, man. Try to keep my word. Now, I do want to throw this out there. Now, CJ is a father of 3 sons, right?
Yes, sir.
3 sons. All right.
3 sons.
Right. And I'll say this. I find that admirable because, there's the biggest compliment I think that, one of the biggest compliments that a father can have is when a child respects him. They wholeheartedly respect their father. Now, what I do want to know is any one of them showing true interest in following in your footsteps in terms of being a business person?
So I would say the one that's probably most interested is my middle son. He's not really old enough to work with me yet. I have taken him with me once. I think he's 11. Is he 11? he's the one that if I had to guess, he'd be the one that probably be most interested. But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like pushing them or nothing like that. I just kind of show them what I'm doing and I'm
Mm-hmm.
explaining the difference between working for yourself and working for a business. So that's I just
Right.
leave it at that. I let them see what I do and you know how much money I can make and all that stuff, and they just kind of have an idea. But I'm not gonna
Right.
force them or push them into it at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, Miss Yvette, she said, let's see. Well, thanks. Thanks, Josh. And then Miss Yvette, join the conversation this evening. I'm going to have to replay it. Yes, please do. Please do. Share it as well. Hit the hit, comment when you see it, up when it uploads or archives into our YouTube. Yeah, please do that. CJ, you're gonna come out with something in the next tomorrow, or is it the day after? You're gonna come
I'm
out with
posting a
those.
video tomorrow.
Okay.
I got a video tomorrow. I worked people don't realize how long it takes to make these videos. I worked on this video for like 10 hours straight. So
That's a
it's
long
important to
time.
me. Yeah, it's a long time. But I do
Now,
my own stuff. I like editing
uh
my own videos.
well, you know what? I can tell you that if you saw like the you see the thumbnails, I do that. I do all the editing of mine. For whatever it's worth, y'all, I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit my videos. I use Photoshop for the for the thumbnails. Um, I'm an Adobe Suite person because this goes back to my time being in publishing, writing books and publishing books, though. But CJ, it looks like it's about your bedtime there.
Yeah. It
About your
is too.
bedtime. All
It
right, all
really
right.
is. This
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say this around the time I try to respond to comments before I go to bed.
Okay. Well, see, now I don't take, well, I'm going to joke and say that it's about time for me to get the warm milk and pop the Geritol. I've got a
Oh
little thing
man.
of water that I sip because I have to make sure that I stay hydrated though. But yeah, it's geezer time coming up for me as well. So I may be doing something else though. It depends though. It depends on what happens in a few minutes though. But y'all, hey, thanks for hanging out tonight and joining the damn conversation. CJ, thank you
Yep.
for hanging out with me. I'm gonna let you go now, man. And while I'm at it, y'all, my scheduled, in fact, my invited guest, she's already been through here in the chat room. Red, she's with Gig Wars official. In fact, she's one of the creative folk behind Gig Wars. I'm gonna play this quick, the short video of Red so that y'all know who's gonna be here next week. Um, okay, that's Red. So she's a live wire. I'll just leave it at that. She's a live wire, and it's going to be a pretty live conversation next week. So that's all I have for this week. Thanks y'all for again hanging out with me, and we'll be trying to do this again next week.